Hello, Janina.
Hello.
Hey, Janina's going to talk with us about personal finance habits. And first, Janina, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Janina Hamilton, and I am a self care life coach for chronically ill women. But I have a background in business bookkeeping. So I have a bookkeeping business, and I also have a self care life coaching business for chronically ill women.
That is awesome. Because the way I see is, well, for mental health, good habits, the financial, how your finances are, that infects a lot of your mental health. Like if
I
they are
absolutely agree.
mess, if your finances are a mess, that just gives you a lot of more stress and anxiety, and that causes a lot of problems for people.
It's very true because a lot of times we want things, right? But how do we get that trip that we want to go on, or the new car that we want to buy? We have to have the money for it, but if we're not paying attention to our finances to keep our minds clear, to be focused on the goal, then it's more difficult. It causes more stress, right?
Hmm. And also, if we're spending now and we're not thinking about like what the future will be, then also causes problems.
Mm-hmm. For sure. For
So
sure.
that's important. So let's start then giving all the tools and everything, how the viewers,
Hmm.
how you can get your finances in order, take
Yeah.
care of your mental health. So that's part of your mental health wellness to
Yeah.
make sure you have good personal financial habits. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a 3-step process that will help you to get and keep your personal finances in order to establish a habit of visiting your personal finances every week. So that the first step really is to set a weekly time for you to review your finances. So, a lot of times you'll have like I know a lot of women, I don't, but they'll have a biweekly nail appointment, right? And sometimes you'll set that appointment before you even leave the salon, right? Or if you
Mm-hmm.
get your hair done every 4 to 6 weeks, you go get your hair, touched up and everything, and you make sure that you're going to do that because it makes you feel good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the same is true with your finances. You should have a weekly appointment with yourself to review your finances. So set a budget based on your income, your current income, and then every week see where you are in every category based on what you spent every week. So that's the first step, is just having a weekly appointment with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Because the way I was just thinking when you were saying it, most people they try to completely avoid that awareness of where the
Yeah.
money is. They try not to look at it because they're worried
Mhm.
about the bills and all the things, and they try not to look at it. So that
Yeah.
is actually really good mental health wellness tip to actually make that time
Mhm.
on a side because you have time for other things. You have time
Exactly.
for other things, so you probably have a time that you can set for just this. And just even in the beginning, just look at the numbers, even if you don't understand the numbers. Just check
Mhm.
what numbers are there and what numbers coming in, what numbers going out.
Yeah, and there will be definitely some resistance to doing it, because there is a feeling of guilt for not having done it for so long, probably, because your finances might not be where you want them to be at the moment. But if you don't start, I like Mel Robbins. I don't know if you've ever heard of
I
her,
like
but
her too, yes.
and yeah, and the 5-second rule. If you don't just count backwards from five and just do it, put that on the calendar, then you're always going to be stuck in the same place. And so you want to have that financial freedom, right? You want that in the future, but you have to start at some point, even if it doesn't feel good at the moment.
Yeah, I actually really agree with you because in the beginning it might be like every new thing, it just feels uncomfortable because
Hmm.
those numbers will feel uncomfortable. But after you do it for a while, let's say even if you do it weekly, like I believe like 1 month, definitely after 2 months doing it weekly, you're going to be more comfortable and more relaxed or easier about like knowing what's going on instead of being in that not knowing.
Yep. Yep. I totally agree. Totally agree. So the second part step then would be to have a program that's going to simplify this process. So from my bookkeeping experience, there is a free, and it's really for business bookkeeping, but the same can be used for personal finances. But the website is waveapps.com, like wave, like in the sea,
Mm-hmm.
apps.com, and you can sign up for that completely free using your email address. It doesn't even take putting a card on there, and you can sign into your personal bank account, your credit cards, and then it automatically pulls through what the transactions are. So all you have to do on your weekly visit of your finances is change the categories in there to match what the transaction was. It even has spaces in there for you to add what the like a different expense category for like eating out or car maintenance and things like that, so that you can pull a report every week and then every month to see how it went, and it simplifies the process. Because using a spreadsheet, sometimes not everybody is very proficient with an Excel spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
And it makes
No,
it
no,
feel
no.
daunting. And so you want to make sure that it is as simple, as streamlined, and as automated as possible. And this is one way to do that. And I know that there are some apps on your phone that you can buy and purchase, some budget apps
Mm-hmm.
to do that too. But if you're not in a great financial space, this would be the place to start. Yes, it does require you to get on your computer, but it's free. It's a simple way for you to go ahead and get started.
Mm-hmm. I think actually my bank has that in my bank account.
Oh, that's good.
Well, maybe some people can use that, see if their bank online banking offers that.
Yeah.
I think, 'cause I'm learning right now with you. So I know that there should, I looked at it a few times, but my bank has that. My online banking account has like segment where I can go look at my monthly expenses.
Wow, that's really good. I've never seen that personally where you could have like inside the bank account that it has like categories that you could
Maybe
go in there and put, but that's really cool.
maybe it's not so categorized. Maybe it's just like general, like
Hmm.
groceries, entertainment, and something. I have to look it over. So that's gonna be one of my things in a list to do. Like
Yeah.
look it over what they offer there and start
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah, because it's important for you to, especially because there will be some resistance in the beginning, to do something that's going to make it as simple as possible, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's my second thing. My second thing is to have something that is going to automate or semi-automate the process so that you're not feeling overwhelmed by an Excel spreadsheet,
Hmm.
trying to figure out what the formulas are. It already does it for you.
Hmm. Okay. And
So the
third one.
oh, So the third one is to reward yourself. So if you are starting something new, it's important that you congratulate yourself,
Hmm.
because when you were like we were in school, I don't know, maybe most people anyways, you got a gold star when you did like something right,
Hmm.
and like I know we had, I think it was in like the first or second grade, and they had like the gold stars, and you could see how many you got for the week and everything, and you just felt so much better. So maybe it's not as simple as a gold star. I mean, we're adults, but it could be like your favorite candy bar. If you're trying to save money, you wait
Hmm.
and you get your favorite candy bar after you've done your weekly review. And then At the end of the month, once you go and pull that report out of that automated system and you can see where you are, how well you did on your budget, then there's a possibility that you could reward yourself with something larger. So, say you spent less money in gas or eating out, then you can reward yourself with going someplace and or eating out, like
Mm-hmm.
reward yourself for doing what you intended to do. So your body, your brain really needs that reinforcement to say, this feels good, this feels right. And you have to do that every single time that you do it. And then it starts craving to do that good thing that at first you felt resistance to. So
And then
yeah,
you don't feel like I was thinking like, and then you don't feel guilty about doing it as well because you
correct.
actually earned it. Because if you do
Yes.
it before you earn it, then you feel like, oh, if I'm gonna make it, like if that at the end of a month it's gonna hurt me or not. But then this way you're gonna know, like, yes. And you could do it like peacefully. That's why it gives you peace of mind because you're
Hmm.
like, oh, I actually had this money available to do it.
Yes. Yes, because like you were saying before too, that you want to look to the future, right? What is the good thing that's going to happen after you've been doing these 3 steps? Setting that appointment with yourself, having a software to help automate it to help that with that resistance and rewarding yourself. It's going to mean that you can do more of the things that you want to do, because a lot of times we're so focused on our responsibilities of taking care of other people, like our jobs and our other family responsibilities, that we forget that taking care of our finances is something for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's something for you specifically. It's nothing that anybody else can do for you. But in order to have that mental clarity to know that you can support other people without overextending yourself, it's important to take these 3 steps first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something else I was thinking about too was, setting boundaries even with your friends and family, because sometimes, they'll invite you out and that you really can't do it, right? You know that it
Mm-hmm.
would be overextending yourself to do that, to go out to eat, to
Mm-hmm.
um, go to the movies, or to go on a trip or something like that. And when you have those goals that that you want to reach, it will make it simpler to say no to them. But it is also important that you have that mental stability, that mental knowing that when you say no to them, that you're saying yes to yourself. And that doesn't mean that you don't say yes to your friends and your family sometimes when it
Mm-hmm.
does suit you. But when you tell other people no, it's saying yes to the goals that you have for yourself.
Well, that's a really nice way to put it. Like, I have not thought about it this way, that sometimes saying yes, no to somebody else just means that you're saying yes to yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just not about it doesn't apply only on finances. I think it applies with a lot of other life situations as well.
Yes, it really does. I mean, and even though, like, I'm an introvert, like a very introverted person. I like to talk. I
Hmm.
do like to talk, but I need my like alone time. And sometimes it'll come to the weekend and somebody's like, "Well, let's go." And I'm like, "Well, I have the finances to do it,
Hmm.
but I know that if I don't rest for that day, then the next few days are going to be harder for me." And
Hmm.
it can mean it's the same type of thing with your finances. It can be harder for you if you say yes to them, and you should be
Hmm.
saying no to them, you know? And it's not that and a lot of times people feel like they're disappointing their friends or family by telling them no. And maybe there is a little bit of a temporary disappointment or discomfort when
Hmm.
telling someone no. But if you say yes to them, then it's a long term discomfort on your own part, on your own mental health. So having that temporary discomfort always supersedes having that long term discomfort on yourself by taking care of yourself and saying no to them. And you don't have to say no all the time, but
Well,
saying
of
no to
course,
something
yeah,
less,
but just
you
like
know?
when you actually do have to say no, then you do have to say no, and
Yep.
you don't have to feel guilty about it. And that made me think about as well, maybe that other people, we as other people, and those other people as well, we should get more comfortable when somebody else tells us no as well, not to blame them for saying no, but giving them the freedom to say no, because like we don't know their reasons, and if there is reason, there isn't reasons. But people should get more comfortable getting no's from others
Hmm.
and let them have that no, not take that no personally. Like, think about, like, okay, they're not saying no because they don't want to be with us. They probably had no for like their own reasons.
Yes.
Like you're saying, like a lot of times people do say yes when they actually don't have money to spend, and then they feel bad about the money they spent.
Hmm.
But now if they have the freedom of saying no, they say no, they don't spend that money, and next time when they have the money they will say yes
Yes.
you know
Yeah, that's so good. Like I was reading a book on boundary setting, and that's exactly what they said. What you were saying, that when you say no to people, that you get more comfortable with people saying no to you, because when you start setting boundaries, then those around you start setting boundaries. They start
Mhm.
realizing, oh, I can say no. you know, so and so
Exactly.
saying no, I can say no. And
Yeah.
I actually had a recent experience with this too. I was talking to somebody, and they were like, I'm really, I'm really not sure I want to go on this trip because this, that, and the other has happened with it being set up. And I'm like, well, it just really sounds like you don't really want to go. Like the answer really is no. And she's like, well, but my husband really wants to go, I think. Like I really think he wants to go. But they didn't have she had not had that conversation yet with him. I said,
Hmm.
well, you have to have that conversation, because if you go and you don't enjoy yourself, then maybe your husband's not going to enjoy himself either. And so she actually said to him, I don't really feel comfortable going on this trip. And he said, okay, we won't go.
Hmm.
So you don't know what others are going to say. And we just have been having a boundary setting conversation, and that led to her standing up for how she felt about this trip. And hey, that long-term discomfort is not there anymore, because she was able to get what she wanted by just saying what she wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that's the thing, like we get those assumptions in our head, like we're
Hmm.
thinking like what other person will start thinking, or like what they're gonna say. And like you said, and then we're surprised that they actually really comfortable with it,
Yep.
and
Yep.
there's no
She was
problem at
making
all.
Yeah, she was making the decision for him but not knowing that he
Hmm.
was feeling a similar way. So you have to address your boundaries and address how you're feeling, because you just don't know whether it's how it will turn out. Because a lot of times we're just people pleasing. Women, we
Hmm.
tend to try to manage everybody else's emotions and keep everybody else happy. But it's okay for us to feel good about saying we don't want to do something.
Hmm. And same, I wish it would be kind of like more acceptable also to say like I can't afford it,
Hmm.
but like people look down to like when somebody says I can't afford it, like because that sometimes it's honest answer, you know,
Right.
but it's not kind of like socially acceptable to say.
Unfortunately.
Hmm.
Unfortunately.
As
But
weird as it is, but it's like it's a true thing, not everybody can afford the same things.
hmm yep, you're right. But hey, as long as you know that you can't afford it, and you say no feeling good that you know that you're going to be able to be on your financial track to do something that you want to do down the road, feel comfortable with that and don't feel guilty about it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a really good advice. Okay, so where we go for next with personal finance habits?
Yeah, so we just want to review, what happens when you really take those steps to heart, when you set a weekly appointment for yourself, use that software and reward yourself, you realize that the money mindset that you have now, that you are building when you create that habit, is like we've just been talking about, it affects every aspect of your life,
Mhm.
because the cost of living everywhere has risen by so
Yeah,
much.
I don't
And
even know what, like, I remember like year ago I said like it was in, let's say, groceries. Year ago I said it was $2, but now I don't even know what to say about like the gas and everything else. Like
yes,
I don't know how to say, is it 10 times higher everything, or how much
yeah, well,
higher
I
everything is.
yeah, I know. My example was like we don't buy a whole lot of like sodas and stuff for our house.
Hmm.
So we buy apple juice. Usually
Hmm.
it's water and apple juice is what we keep in the house. And so there's a half gallon of apple juice that we would get from the store was 79 cents when my husband
Hmm.
and I got married 5 years ago. We went to the store yesterday. It's $1.89.
Hmm.
That's 200% more.
Yeah. Yeah. A
Yeah.
lot of things that I go in a grocery store, I seen like they're $2 more that they were
Yes.
before. Kind of
Yes.
like the same thing. So 200% more.
It's crazy.
Hmm.
So you have to have that mentality that the cost of living is rising. So you have to keep a better hold on where your money is going, because just because the cost of living is rising doesn't mean that we're making more money, right? Like,
Exactly. Right now, that's the problem. Maybe like well, one of those years they have to figure it out financially, how to
mhm,
get people up to the same level where the prices are. Either prices will go down, or the salaries or the income has to raise
yeah,
somehow.
something's got to
They,
happen.
Something's going to happen. There's going to be like people watching from 5 years from now. It's going to be like, oh, maybe everything's going to be just electronic as well,
Yeah,
like electronic money. But still, like the finance is with electronic money, you still have to have good habits with how you use that,
exactly,
because
exactly.
that's actually maybe even easier to get out of control,
Yes.
because you're not holding it in your hand, it's just numbers.
hmm Yeah. So, because money affects everything in our lives, keeping track of your personal finances will help you to be able to do the other things that you want to do, to take care of your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. It clears your mind of the stress of not knowing where your money is going, because you're having that weekly appointment with yourself. So
Mhm.
by taking that action, it frees your mind from thinking, I don't know where my next meal is coming from because I overspent last week. Like
Mhm.
those things, that anxiety of negative predictions of the future can mostly disappear by keeping track of where your money is going.
Mhm. So let's go back to the number one point actually
Yeah.
right now. So if you're in that moment, that if you are in your weekly appointment meeting with yourself,
hmm
so what you should write down,
So
what you should look at.
at the beginning of the month, you should look at your what your income is, what your projected income is for that month. So how much
Hmm.
money are you going to be bringing in for the month? And
Hmm.
then you need to write down how much money you estimate to have for your bills, if you have any credit card bills, your utilities, your rent or your mortgage, how much you're going to pay in gas. If you ride the bus or the train, how much you're going to be spending on that, how much money you would like to set aside for savings or travel. Um, Categories such as those, you need to have a list of how much money you want to put in each of those places. And so have that set aside. And then when you go to your software, you go in and have a category. Most of those things are already set up inside of that Wave Apps program. Um, and you would categorize each thing that you have, each transaction that came out of your bank account, as what it was. So if you went to the grocery store, then you would, there's a drop down list, and you click on groceries, and then do everything that happened in that week, and then go over to the reports section, and then you can run a report for that 1 week and see where you are within the bounds of the budget that you set for each category, and that way you know how much money you have left to spend for the next 3 weeks for your in your budget for the month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you repeat, rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And
And then
depending
you get
on
a
how many,
reward.
yes. And then yeah, then you have a reward. And then as you the more you do it, the simpler it will be. I mean, if you don't have a whole lot of transactions, like if you're making sure that you're eating like lunch for work, if you're eating at home, that's going to cut down on the number of transactions that you have. You know, there's simple things that you can do to do that. Like for instance, I have a client that her business is busy, it makes money, but she doesn't have any more than 10 transactions per week. So
Mhm.
if you have just 10 transactions per week, it's going to take you about 15 minutes a week to have this weekly meeting with yourself.
Mhm.
So it's not taking a whole lot of your time to sit down and visit your finances. You just have to do it.
Mhm. And you
Yeah.
have to like that's why I put it a personal finance habits. It has to become a habit.
Yes.
It's like a lot of the people who making money, they always say you have to know where your money is. I
Yep.
hear them saying it all the time. That you just yeah, if you don't know where your money is, where it's coming, where is it going, then that's not a good habit. That
Yeah.
means yes, that means that your financial habits are not good.
hmm
If you know what is your budget for that week, then that's a good habit. And
Yeah.
that makes you feel more relaxed and more comfortable.
It's so true. I
At
mean, I
the
have
end.
one. Yeah, I have one client just the other day. We sat down and went through her finances, her expenses again, because we review her expenses every 3 to 6 months.
Mhm.
And she found an expense that she was didn't was is no longer using. She no longer needed,
Okay.
and so now she's able to put that, I think it was like $70 a month, into her pocket.
Mhm.
It can now come home to her. So things like that are invaluable. Subscriptions, oh, subscriptions eat people alive.
Yeah.
Things that you thought that you wanted or needed that you never use anymore.
Mhm.
Streaming services like Netflix and Hulu, if you're
Mhm.
not really using them, get rid of them. Just get rid of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And one thing as well that I know, like you have to review them once a year, your
Mhm.
subscriptions, to see because some of the prices will go up at the end of a year, or
Yes.
you have option to go like slower, or they maybe there being some changes because I know that I had to do it with my internet. I have to
Mhm.
renew it every year because if I don't, then I'm getting like a higher rate. So, because
Wow.
then it's not like I think it's not considered automatic or something. So it
Oh,
just goes, uh, whatever reason it has to be like the program that I have. It's slow payment, but I had to make sure that yeah I upgrade my subscription for next year with the same payment instead of it going up.
wow. Well, good for you though for
Mhm.
noticing that. Yeah.
Because I noticed that the way I noticed as well, and like some other people, and that's why important to look at your numbers because I saw in my bank notes that it was higher than I usually pay. And I called them and I asked why it's higher. And they said, like, well, after 1 year, this is what happens. And I was like, oh, but I didn't know. And then they said, well, but if you renew, then we can go back to the same number. I was like, well, duh, of course. Why would I pay more for the same service if I can just renew and go back to the old price that I paid? So a lot of
Exactly.
those tricks we don't know, they don't tell us.
Hmm.
But if you notice that, like I would say, if you notice that a price has changed, that definitely call to the business and find out what was the reason for the changes instead of just going with it.
For sure. That's a really good point. It's a
Yeah.
really good point. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add for this time?
No, I think that's it. That those three things. I can't say them enough. you
Hmm.
know, your weekly appointment with yourself, non-negotiable. And it's important not to skip a week too.
Yes.
Like, don't skip a week because then the habit starts, you know, failing maybe. Because I've read it. I don't know if you have read Atomic Habits, but um, one of the things that happens is if you skip it at least twice, then the habit is broken and then you have to start all over again. So to
Hmm.
start this habit, make sure that you're doing it weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Have that program. We've got the free one that I guess we can link that.
Yeah, we'll put it
and
in that description.
and then reward yourself because you deserve it. You deserve to visit your personal finances so that you can start doing the things that you want to do.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you, Nina. Thank you. That's really valuable information. And do you have any other contact information for yourself and something that you want viewers to know so what they can contact you about or what else you're doing?
Yeah, so I have an 8-week one-on-one program. It's called Ditch the Guilt. uh, yeah, Ditch the Guilt, Feel Good about setting boundaries and prioritizing self care. So a lot of times we feel guilty about disappointing others or letting them down by saying no, but it's important for us to prioritize ourselves in order to be better able to help others. So that's what this 8-week program goes through. So you don't feel guilty about prioritizing yourself and saying no to others, because that puts you in a better position to help them when you feel ready and mentally and emotionally available to do so. And I am on Instagram mostly at
Mhm.
Janina H Coaching. And I also have a podcast that's called Calming Confectionery. And we give this my story. We talk about my story and the stories of other chronically ill women and their self care journeys so that you can learn from them as well.
Mhm. All those links gonna be in description as well, so you can look it up in a description of the show, and you'll find all the links to Janina's websites and information there. So, okay, Janina, thank you so much.
Yes, this was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's valuable information. So everybody take those 3 steps and get your personal finance habits in order. So it will help you mental health, wellness tremendously. Bye, Janina.
Bye.